On this episode, we learn about the Non-motorized transportation pilot project in Columbia, Missouri. Sidewalk maintenance has been neglected in Columbia. We talk with a wheelchair user in St. Genevieve, Missouri. We look at a wide intersection in Kansas City, Missouri. Finally, we meet a bicycle advocate in Moline, Illinois. Stay tuned. We're in Columbia, Missouri, talking with Ted Curtis, who's the Bike Ped Program Manager. So what have you been working on lately as the Bike Ped Program Manager?
Well, the city of Columbia is one of 4 pilots around the country that received a $22 million federal grant to get mode shift, get people walking and biking and out of their cars.
And this is the Non-motorized transportation pilot project. What approach have you taken in planning to how you're going to use that money to make a difference?
Well, the first thing we did, we went back and did a major planning about what bike routes, looking at the bike system and also looking at what we can do for PEDs. Concentrated heavily on an integrated bike system, which is some trails, but mostly an on-street system of bike lanes, bike routes, and treatments there. And then from a PED standpoint, looking at where some sidewalk gaps are and some major intersection changes. So it's been a planning process. Then the next step was getting all the projects into engineering, and now we're getting toward the tail end of the engineering work and toward the construction side.
What did you have in the way of bicycle facilities in town before you started on this?
Well, there were some bike lanes, there's some multi-use trails that were in Columbia, they're mostly gravel, and kind of what I call the old bike route system, these little green signs around that nobody kind of knew where they were and where they went and that type of thing. But somewhere there was a map that said what the bike routes were. So we kind of looked at what's here, and Columbia has some facilities, but it's also kind of like this typical American country. It's got a grid system downtown and a cul-de-sac system development all around the periphery of the city. So it's sort of integrating what was there with our plan, with what can be done, concentrating heavily on interconnecting neighborhoods and things like that.
And then once people get their bike to where they're going, what are you doing in the way of bicycle parking?
Well, we're looking at an integrated system, so bike parking was really critical. We've put about 50 racks in downtown. We're planning on putting a lot more in the area. We've got a bike cost share program with businesses that want to put bike racks in where the city buys the rack and we loan them the businesses under a special agreement with them. So bike parking is really critical. It's really important all around the city. Concentrating heavily in the downtown area initially. We've done a bike corral where the city actually took out a metered space, which was revenue for the city, and put a bike rack in, and it's been packed every time we go by it.
So what have you been able to do in the way of making bikes available for people that might not have a bike or get downtown by some other way and might need a bike to run errands or whatever? Have you touched on that area at all?
Yeah, we have. First of all, we've been kind of tracking the rental programs around the country, and we think that Columbia is only about 100,000 people here, that a rental program probably wouldn't work. Maybe not, that we don't have the critical mass for it. But there are 2 programs that we have going. One is a errand bike program with businesses where we've got some breezer bikes out, trying that out with the businesses, see if they get used. We've got an errand bike here in the office we use, and Public Works Department has this errand bike. So there are some already around town. So we're building on that model from a business standpoint and just running around during the week. The other half we're doing is we're collecting a bunch of donated bikes and kind of the junkers and some good ones that people are donating to us. And we have volunteers that come in, repair them. We have a shop set up in the back where we fix up the bikes. And every spring, and we'll probably do it 2 times a year now because we're getting so many bikes in, but every spring we have a bike giveaway program where people sign up for it, and in different communities will get one of the bikes for transportation. And that's been really successful. We do a couple hundred bikes each time.
And you got 5-year program. When you get to the end, what do you have to report back? What does Congress want to see as a result of of what you've been doing?
Well, they're not checking how much we build. They're looking at mode shift, and mode shift is how many people use some non-motorized transportation as opposed to the private cars. So we did a bookend, what do we call it, kind of a bookend check at the beginning of the program. And Columbia's not too bad. It had like a 1% mode shift for bikes and 8% for walking, which is pretty good for a small town. And we have to do the same measurement at the end, and that's what we have to report back to Congress, is really just how much mode shift can we get. There are other things we will put in the final report, like we're tracking some projects, we're doing some yearly counts, a lot of different assessments that are ongoing, but what's required by Congress is just how much mode shift, how many people can you get out of your car, with the federal money.
And there were 4 cities that were selected to be pilot project cities. What are the characteristics of Columbia that might make you a little different than some of the other ones?
What's interesting, every city, every pilot is totally different. Columbia is a self-contained city. It's the one major city in the county, so it's the political entity and the power, and it really is in the city, is who decides what's done in the area. There's only one city in it. It's about 100,000 people, major university. It's got, like I said, a downtown grid system, but a lot of cul-de-sac development. It's got barriers that we have to deal with, like interstates cutting through it and chopping the city apart. So it's got a lot of things that any city would have that we have to deal with. The other pilots, one of them is Minneapolis, which is, big city, and there are 2 counties involved. Marin County, which is a very heavy, a California county that's got a lot of bike facilities already in place, but it's got a lot going on. And Sheboygan County in Wisconsin, which is more of a farm-type county. So the pilots are all different. It's really interesting to see how it works out.
And in addition to the infrastructure, the paint and the pavement and so on, what are you doing on the softer side of things, the education and encouragement?
Yeah. Well, I kind of refer to it as sort of like a 2-part system. We're getting measured by mode shift. So I tell people that, why are we doing kind of the soft side or programming? It's sort of like a computer. You have the hardware that runs it, which is the infrastructure side, and then you have the software that runs on it. You need both to work together. So from our standpoint, the infrastructure was important, and that's where most of the money goes, but we're putting 10 or 15% into programming because that's directly trying to affect behavior. And that's all we're getting measured on is behavior change. So on the infrastructure side, we took a 4-step process. One is getting awareness, second is education, third is getting people to try something, and fourth, to institutionalize it. So in the first 2, we have a local PR firm, Vangel Associates, that's been doing a lot of marketing, PR, ads in the paper, some shots on TV, the Get About Columbia logo and stuff like that. So we're getting a lot of awareness and a lot of understanding in the community because we really hit it on a mass media side. And when I first came here, people didn't get it. What's the program? What are you doing? People get it now. The question is, are they changing their behavior? And that's what comes down to the last 2. On the last 2 aspects, getting people to try it and getting it institutionalized. Bengal has subcontracted to a local nonprofit called the PedNet Coalition, and they're doing more of the hands-on, to really get behavior change, and you really need to get on an individual basis. So that's more the individual type things where we have classes. We're doing bike loan programs. We're doing, we have a kind of a targeted neighborhood program we call Neighbors on the Go program. Some big events, a spring bike to work event, to a fall bike to work event. Really hitting on a lot of different levels. We have a bike ambassador program where you can get a one-on-one type of help with somebody if you want it. We're doing a lot of web-based type of stuff. So it's a kind of a very coordinated effort between the infrastructure side and the programming side, and we're experimenting with things. Some things were tried and true, like Neighbors on the Go was a program that came out of Portland, so we plagiarized where we could. The loaner bike program in businesses for errand bikes and stuff, that has been done here in other cities too. So we're trying some new stuff, but a lot of stuff is tried and true. Events are pretty standard. Everybody does events, and had to get people doing the bike to work type of thing. So it's a mix.
And you feel halfway through the program that people are pretty much aware, and you can sort of concentrate more your efforts the last few years on on the, getting out and actually trying it and doing it and going for that walk or that bike ride?
Well, we're going to continue both. We'll still do some of the PR and marketing, concentrating, you're right, a lot on the hands-on type of stuff. And if you look at some of the other cities around the country that have really made a difference, like Portland, their program, they did a lot of infrastructure work, and it was like a 15-year process. We're trying to cram a 15-year process into 5 years. So we're kind of anticipating that we're going to get a lot of mode shift, but a lot of it could come in 2011, 2012 afterwards, because if you look at Portland, they're still getting increases in mode shift, even though they're pretty much built out in their system. Well, we're still building out the system, if you can look at the map. So we're anticipating that we're going to do a lot now. We'll see some mode shift now. We'll probably see even more after the program is done. So we want to be able to track that too.
We're talking with Kristen Ray, who's been looking at sidewalk issues here in Columbia, Missouri. What did Columbia know about the condition of its sidewalks before you started looking at them?
The disability community had been speaking up that the sidewalks were in a dilapidated condition that made it very difficult for them to go down the sidewalks, and they were often using the streets, which is dangerous. And they knew there was a problem, but they didn't know how bad the problem was and have the resources or the infrastructure in place to maintain the sidewalks.
So when you went out and took a look, what did you do to go out and find out just how bad they were?
Well, I went off the ADA guidelines, the Americans with Disabilities Act, and I was looking for some particular things, such as uneven sidewalks, if there's level changes, if there's gaps in the sidewalk, such as a large crack. I was also looking at how level the sidewalks were, and that would be a cross slope or even a slope going up to a ramp. And when you look at all those and combine them, then they start to become problematic for people who use wheelchairs. And then for people with vision impairments, I was also looking at objects that are overhanging into the sidewalk, such as low tree branches that you wouldn't necessarily detect with a cane.
How does one, what are the logistics of doing an inventory like that? Do you use a GPS database, a clipboard and a pencil? What's involved in getting out in the field to do that kind of inventory?
First off, you need to know what you're going to be looking for. And I had a list of defaults. And as I went around, I had a map in hand, and I marked in front of the property owner and how many panels needed to be fixed. And then I reported what type of problem needed to be fixed.
What's the typical procedure for sidewalk maintenance, here in Columbia? Whose responsibility is it?
The responsibility is the property owners.
And when you look at other cities around the country, is that typical, or are there other ways that it's done?
Usually it is the property owner that is responsible. Very few cities, but there are some cities out there, the city has decided to take responsibility for the sidewalks.
And when the property owner is responsible, what's the typical procedure for making sure that the repairs are done on a timely basis, or are they?
Well, a few cities, they do. They have an inspection team where they hire a consultant to go out and to survey parts of the city. And from there, they'll notify the property owner, and they may either retain a contractor to do the repairs or have the homeowner do it themselves or have the homeowner hire their own contractor.
So have you come up with any recommendations for what might be done here in Columbia based on what you've seen here and what's going on elsewhere in the country?
I would like to see an ordinance that is very objective and measurable. Currently, the ordinance is very vague, just saying property owner is responsible. And I would hope to see actual minimum criteria for an accessible sidewalk. Also, I'd like to see some sort of sidewalk assessment in place instead of having it on a complaint-driven basis.
We're in St. Genevieve, Missouri, talking with Margaret Jorgensen. What sort of challenges do you have trying to get around in a wheelchair in St. Genevieve?
Well, first of all, sidewalk width, my chair's fairly narrow, but there are places where the sidewalk's a little bit treacherous. I mean, it fits my wheelchair, but if I happen to not be paying attention, I could wind up on the street. So sidewalk width is a big issue. The other thing's curb cuts. I don't think people understand that curb cuts have to be designed so we can enter a sidewalk and exit a sidewalk safely. That's the big thing with me is, if I park at a store or I park at a business, I need to have a curb cut that's close. I need to have one that's not going to be a hazard to me where it would tip my chair over, where I'm negotiating it, or one that's a little bit steep. There are some that are shaped more like a bowl, more like a soup bowl than just a gradual curve or a gradual slope. So, that's the big issue. The other thing is cracks. Cracks in the sidewalk, uneven surfaces. Again, they can raise havoc. I mean, I do pretty well in my chair, but I have to watch carefully to see if there's any broken concrete, see if there's any holes, because if you, like I said, if you get your wheel in a hole, or you get, if there's a hole that's deep enough, you're gonna feel it. And sometimes you may get hurt too if you're a little bit too careless. So, that's the other thing. Also, surfaces. Smooth concrete's best. A lot of people like to do the decorative stuff, like the cobblestones or the rough surfaces or whatever. And they work for some people. If you have the right wheelchair, you can handle it. But basically, smooth concrete's ideal because not only you have a smooth surface, but for ice and snow removal, you can get everything off, as opposed to, say, cobblestones or a rough surface where you can't get every bit of snow or ice off the sidewalk. I guess that pretty much in a nutshell are my concerns about sidewalks.
We're in Kansas City, Missouri, talking with Lori Chipman, who's in charge of advocacy for the Kansas City Bicycle Club. What is the Kansas City Bicycle Club?
Well, it's a social club, but they do promote advocacy as part of their mission, and so I'm the one that goes to City Hall and it goes to meetings and our MPO meetings and such like that.
Now, what's this street corner we're standing at?
We're standing at Cleaver and Main, and it's kind of confusing because it's also Brookside and 47th, all at the same time. But it's one of my favorite nightmare intersections in town because they took Main Street and decided it was too slow for commuters and reconfigured it into Brookside. Brookside's a residential street, so now they have all these cars whipping down a residential street at least 35 miles an hour, and so they've turned this nice city street into a freeway, sort of. And it's really not good for pedestrians. They don't give you enough time to cross at the light. You have 8 lanes right here, and you have 20 seconds to cross it. And there's no place to rest and no safe place in the middle to stop. Say if you're older or younger or or just, have a disability or whatever. And on the other side of the street here is a one-way street sign that if you're across the street and you want to cross, it totally blocks the pedestrian light. So you can't see what it is, you can't see the numbers. So you just sort of have to guess whether it's even on or off.
Okay, so you got some problems with major design issues and some
Yeah.
problems with little minor design issues here.
Yeah. You've also got this nice big wide or round right turn that cars will barely stop if you're a pedestrian trying to get across this. Well, that one's nice. It stopped. So anyway, other than that, this is a shopping and residential district that has lots of pedestrians. And it's, I've even been asked if pedestrians have the right of way here by people who come from out of town. It's a very popular tourist district as well. And but the drivers around here haven't been trained very well to stop for pedestrians.
So not only do you have an engineering problem, but a driver behavior problem. What is driver behavior like?
Cars rule. This is really a city built for cars, and they are just now waking up to the idea of including pedestrians. And so there's not a whole, the enforcement's pretty lax, and of course there's always a shortage of money, so they don't always repaint the crosswalks as soon as they should. And in my opinion, they aren't painting them in the right fashion. I would like to see them going parallel with the traffic, the lines in the crosswalks. So, there's still a lot of education that needs to be done to tell the drivers that there's other road users, including bicycles and pedestrians.
We're in Moline, Illinois, talking with Dan McNeil with QC Tag. What does QC Tag stand for?
QC Tag is the Quad Cities Transportation Advocacy Group, and our group is working for a more livable Quad Cities here in Iowa and Illinois, which includes Moline, Rock Island in Illinois, and Davenport and Bettendorf in Iowa, trying to make better communities that are more bikeable, walkable, and also encourage public transportation.
What sort of facilities exist for bicyclists and pedestrians?
Well, for starters, this area has a fantastic trail system. On the Iowa side, we have the Mississippi River Trail and also the Duck Creek Parkway. And on the Illinois side, the Hennepin Canal Trail, and where we're standing here along the Great River Trail, this trail extending from Rock Island through Moline here all the way to Savannah. What we're trying to do is connect these wonderful trails and encourage people to use the trails not only for recreation but for transportation, and encourage our city leaders to connect residents to the trails so that they can use these trails for transportation as well. Advocating for better signage, bike lanes, just better bike ways and bike facilities.
Do you see much use of the trails yet for practical transportation, on weekdays and not just the Saturday afternoon pleasure rides?
It's really increased in the last 2 years. Our group started, we had Bike to Work Week here in the Quad Cities, and decided to expand and motivate some of our residents to get out and bike more for transportation. And then with the spike in gas prices, we started to see many, many more residents out using their bicycles as a way of getting around and opting to leave their car at home, whether that was to get to work or a trip to the grocery store. It's November here in the Quad Cities, and we're seeing many more cyclists out, bundled up, lights on the bikes, mornings, evenings, and we wouldn't have seen that 5 years ago. So we're excited.
Do And as an advocacy group, you're dealing with governments, but you've got a bunch of them here. Quad cities, 2 different states. How does that complicate trying to get things accomplished?
It does complicate things. One of our efforts now is we would like to see a quad city master plan, a bike and pedestrian master plan, and without getting cooperations from all the cities, sometimes the planning can be disjointed. And I would say that on the flip side, what we can do is sometimes get a city to motivate another, not pit one against the other. But for instance, Rock Island was the first of the quad cities to implement bike lanes. And this was motivation for Davenport to say, hey, we need to get on board and be connected to these other cities, to connect our residents, to connect our tourists when they're out on their bikes. And so Rock Island kind of getting the ball rolling helped Davenport kind of follow in line. We're hoping Moline and Bettendorf will follow suit.
What's your vision of what you like to see in the Quad City areas, 10 or 20 years from now, maybe when your children grow up?
Yeah. 10 or 20 years from now, I would like to see better facilities, not only for cyclists but for pedestrians, and for our city officials to consider how we design our communities, and that's most important. We're like many communities across the Midwest where sprawl has created a situation where it becomes difficult to bike, walk, and use transit. I would just like to see all of the quad cities embrace their downtowns, embrace their cities, and plan their communities so that we can walk, bike, and use transit. The bridge that's behind us, I don't know if we're going to be able to see the 74 bridge, but we hope that in 10 years the new bridge will have pedestrian access as well. All of our bridges here in the Quad Cities eventually, and our streets linked to our trails, and just more opportunities to what our group likes to say, think outside of the car.
Visit us on the internet at www.pedestrians.org.